Not as great as I thought it would be. We really didn't get a lot. Everybody wants to hate on the show They're jumping on the bandwagon.
I couldn't believe some of the things they wrote. You ruined my childhood.
Do you mean by my size, do you?
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Oh, there it is.
The big question everybody is asking is whether the Acolyte Episode 3 breaks the Star Wars canon. And I'm going to tell you straight up, it doesn't. After watching it, a second and a third time, and really trying to analyze the scene, from an unbiased point of view, it actually does make sense and it doesn't break canon at all. In fact, George Lucas himself, many of the things that he's been quoted saying, and I'll show you exactly what George said and, how this kind of lines up with the Acolyte.
The Force, the religion, and everything is based on all religions. It's not just based on one.
And it makes sense, You see a lot of his own personal ideas in the Star Wars, the Jedi Code themselves, and the Star Wars universe. Those were his own personal philosophies, really. I personally don't see how different groups interpreting the Force breaks the canon.
Life breeds it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
It's a super big galaxy. It doesn't make sense if everybody would believe the same thing. You've got Jedis, you've got witches. It's really not far-reaching to see this witch coven adapt their own personal beliefs of the Force, call it the thread, whatever.
Some call it a force and claim to use it. But we know thread is not a power you wield.
It doesn't break canon. I want to go over some of my likes and dislikes on the episode. I did notch the series down a couple points after watching this episode. I just felt the pacing was off compared to the other two episodes. We got a lot of information in those two episodes, and this, we really didn't get a lot. There's a lot that's missing there. I think one of the best parts of this episode was Lee Jung-Jae's performance. I mean, he's one of the greatest actors, and I'm glad they got him for this show because he definitely carries a lot of this show, that's for sure.
You're trained as my Padawan. Oh, I got you.
He wasn't really involved a lot in this episode, but the scenes that he was in, he really shines. You can see he's a phenomenal actor. I think it's quite amazing that he learned English just to play this role. I like the bald or the shaved Wookiee with like the tattoos on his head. There's a few things I dislike about the episode. I thought the virgin birth at first really upset me.
I carried them.
I created them.
I think he is a she.
I'm starting to realize that it doesn't exactly break canon. So Anakin, he was literally born by the Force itself, as it's implied that Palpatine and Plagueis possibly gave birth to him. But it turns out that was actually a misinterpretation of a comic book, them manipulating the dark side energy of the Force to create life or sustain life, whatever their experiments were. It had actually resulted in the Force itself almost balancing itself and giving birth to Anakin. The Force itself birthed Anakin. Osha and May were manipulated into existence by witches. Anakin's birth is a little bit more special since it was the Force itself versus witches using some sort of dark side magic to create that life. I'm hoping the show will explain some more of that plot. The viewership numbers on the Acolyte seem pretty promising. They're saying it's like roughly 11 million views in the first 5 days, and Ahsoka was at like 14 or 15 million. So this is a series with completely new actors and a bunch of hate, people going into this not even wanting to watch it. I'm surprised at how well the Acolyte is doing. And the numbers don't lie, it's the biggest show for Disney Plus in 2024. When I look through all the comments, I see your typical hate, but there is a lot of people who are sincerely enjoying this series. And I think what we got here is there's a loud vocal minority who's taking over the narrative here.
What's up, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and the disaster around Disney's new woke DEI Star Wars, The Acolyte, continues to spiral out of control.
The truth is, the numbers don't lie. In this series, people, whether you're hate watching it or not, the show's getting a lot of views. I have been watching a lot of feedback on episode 3, and I see a lot of people bashing these kids, saying, bless these children's heart, but I just have to say, these poor kids, they're terrible actors. I'm like, dude, leave the kids alone. There's literally nothing wrong with their performance.
It's not up to you. You can't stop me. Yes, I can. How? I'll kill you.
It might be some clunky bad dialogue, but bad dialogue's always been a staple of Star Wars.
The dialogue was a little bit difficult. I remember there was one line that I just begged him to take out.
Leave the kids alone.
I'm still angry about the way they treated Jake Lloyd. He was only 10 years old at that point, and he did exactly what George wanted him to do.
Another complaint I've been hearing by a lot of fans is the Disney soundtrack, power of one, power of many.
The power of one. The power of two. The power of many.
It didn't bother me. In fact, I didn't even really notice it at first. It's a coven of witches doing a witch chant. It makes sense. I don't see anything wrong with it. The second and third watch through, I get where everybody's coming at. It sounds a little bit goofy. They definitely could have came up with a better witch chant. I think maybe keeping it in some sort of alien language where we don't even understand what they're saying, does it ruin the show? Absolutely not. Everybody wants to hate on the show to hate on the show. They're jumping on the bandwagon. One of my other complaints I did notice, when the fire starts, and I'm like, wasn't this place made out of stone carved into a mountain? How is this stone burning so fast? I mean, the fire gets started and 2 seconds later, the whole place is aflame. That was a little bit goofy. I'm starting to believe the writers of the show don't understand how fire works. You see the fire burning stone like it's kindling, and you see fire in space. I mean, we all know fire needs oxygen to survive. But once again, am I going to let that ruin the show for me? Absolutely not. We all overlook that this show's made for kids, It's made for 12-year-olds. We're a bunch of 30, 40-year-olds complaining about this, like it's written for us. It's not. We're not the target audience. I thought May actually started the fire herself. But on second watch through, you realize you don't actually see her throw the lantern on the ground. So I'm calling it right now. Something is going on there. May doesn't start the fire.
What have you done? What have you done? What have you done?
Another thing that I think could help explain the whole virgin birth. You see this hooded figure during the ritual that they're doing, the ascension. The thing is, Plagueis had to learn the powers to, manipulate life from somewhere.
He could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life.
So wouldn't it make sense that, he's exploring all these different, occult religions, trying to figure out some dark side manipulation of the Force that he could use to create life or sustain life? What if this is actually where Plagueis goes down, learns, or at least starts going down the path of learning how to manipulate life, and that hooded figure is actually Plagueis, perhaps? That would be super cool. She says, we don't want the Jedi to know how we did this. And so my guess is they obviously sacrifice, you gotta kill life to create life. Takes life to create life. So my theory is they're sacrificed somebody to create this life, through some dark side manipulation. That would be pretty cool to see. I thought the series was a 9 out of 10. After watching this episode, I'm knocking it down to a 7 out of 10. Still good. Not as great as I thought it would be. I think it slowed down a little bit too much. There was some cool scenes. Every scene that Jung-Jae is in is amazing. Phenomenal actor. Wasn't a big fan of the episode, but it wasn't terrible. Let's see where else the series takes us before we completely write it off. That's my thoughts for the episode. And if you guys enjoyed my content, I would appreciate if you want to reach out, give me a like, comment on my video, tell me your thoughts. May the Force be with us all.
Oh, there it is. There's my name. Another check for Daddy.
You were the chosen one!